All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Avalon series from Avalon Youth Services. Today, we're going to be talking about self-care and mindfulness. So we're going to talk about what self-care is, how to practice it, the importance of it, especially right now in the midst of COVID and everything being virtual. All right, so let's get started. All right, so what is self-care? So according to the World Health Organization, self-care is the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. So in the way that we're looking at it, self-care can include nutrition, taking care of your mental health and your well-being in that way, regular exercise, whether it's going for a walk or a run or just, getting out and about, hobbies. So whatever interests you, maybe that's, crocheting or what have you, writing, etc., and much more. So self-care is about what works for you, and self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is important so that we can, interact with the world around us in a way that's healthy. So why is self-care important with that? So the daily routine can be exhausting, especially right now. We have work, we have school, we have obligations to see friends and family, which can be good for us, but it can also be tiring, especially maybe if you're more introverted or it's a long day or you're kind of tired or what have you. Chores and errands, there's a lot of things that we have to do every day to take care of our house, our family, our loved ones, our work, etc. Especially right now with everything being virtual, it can be exhausting after staring at a screen all day or doing whatever. It's good to get some self-care in to kind of relax and rejuvenate. So constantly moving and working without taking time for oneself can lead to burnout, right? So if we're just always working all day, like just not giving ourselves a break, not taking care of ourselves, burnout can happen. And that's a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. So it's pushing yourself too hard without giving yourself some time to breathe. And when we burn out, as you can see on this little graphic here, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? We can't give as much as we want to give. We can't contribute as much as we want to contribute. We're not at our full capacity if we're not taking care of ourselves, right? So it's really important to take care of ourselves, not only so we can feel good, but also that we can do the best work that we can and engage in a productive and healthy way with the world around us, right? So taking care of yourself should be a priority. We all need time to rest and restore our energy, and that means taking care of ourselves. So we'll look into what are some ways to practice self-care and some little mindfulness exercises. So let's get moving. So how do we practice self-care? So we found this like diagram, the 7 pillars of self-care. I have the source linked, and I'll be also including all of the sources that I use in the description. So you can click on those if you want to learn more and have more resources. So the 7 pillars of self-care, it's all about balance. It's all about finding things that work for us and keeping ourselves healthy. So the first one is knowledge and health literacy, understanding like what we need, educating ourselves on those things, mental well-being, right? So checking in with ourselves mentally. We'll all get into these ways to practice them here soon. So saying like, how am I feeling today? Being emotionally aware, understanding where our mental state is at, right? Coping if we have any mental health issues, being able to cope in a healthy way and have healthy practices, whether that's like therapy or medication prescribed, etc. Physical activity, so like we said, a light jog, going for a walk, hike, anything that just gets your blood pumping. That's great. Jumping jacks, dancing to your favorite song. You do you, but physical activity is really good for us. Healthy eating. So it doesn't mean that you can't have something you enjoy every now and again. You can't have like a piece of cake or something. But healthy eating means we're taking care of ourselves in the way where we get all the macronutrients we need. So proteins, carbs, fats, what have you, but then also our vitamins and fruit. And that comes a lot of the time in fruits and veggies, right? So it's all about balance. It's all about getting everything that our body needs to take care of itself. Risk avoidance. So that means making smart and safe decisions. As you can see, they have like a no smoking because smoking can be really detrimental to your health and detrimental to your self-care, and just making safe decisions, right? So avoiding, I guess in COVID times, avoiding areas that are high exposure, right? That's part of self-care, is keeping ourselves safe in the midst of a pandemic. Okay, and we'll go through these other ways to practice going forward. Good hygiene, so just taking care of ourselves, taking a shower, taking care of your skin, changing your underwear. It's that simple. It's just keeping yourself clean. And these little practices can kind of help us wake up. They can kind of rejuvenate us. Like I know, like when I take a nice shower and I feel clean, that's a really good feeling. It's invigorating and it just feels very like, finally, like I washed the day away and now I can relax. So good hygiene is really important. And then rational use of products and services. So rational is a key word here. So taking prescribed medications when you need them, reaching out to services like a therapist, right? Using resources that are available to you in a way that is safe and healthy, right? So something that wouldn't rational would be self-medicating, right? So this idea of like not using a prescription, right? Or being abusive to that prescription. So it's really important that we use things as prescribed, as recommended by a physician in a really safe and thoughtful way, right? Because there's nothing wrong with getting help, medical help, but we have to make sure that we're trusting the medical professionals and acting in accordance with those guidelines. So how do we practice these in everyday life? Just think about that, where you might be on these 7 pillars, where you might need a little extra knowledge. You might need to do a little bit better, or add one of these pillars, and what could we do better? So personally, I think when I'm sitting at my computer all day, sometimes I have to remind myself to get up and to walk around and to get some physical activity. I can also have to remind myself to eat well, because sometimes I'm like just sitting at the desk all day and I just want to snack. And then I'm like, you probably need to eat a real meal that's like balanced and good. So we all have things that we need to improve on. That's totally okay. But focusing on these 7 pillars is crucial. Okay, and so I just thought this graphic was so cute. These are just some of the many options for self-care. Obviously, everything is what works for you in a healthy way, but I thought this was really nice. Strike a yoga pose. I know yoga can be very centering. It's good exercise too. Bake a favorite treat. I have taken up baking during COVID like nobody else. I love baking. It's very soothing and you get to enjoy whatever you made after. Color something. They have a lot of adult coloring books or more advanced coloring books if you don't want to do like really big pictures. Take a nap. Oh my gosh, a nap changes the game for me. Disconnect from the internet. That's a big one. I think removing yourself from social media for a minute and from all the virtual stuff and taking a breath away from all of that, especially right now, is so good because we need to remind ourselves that like our entire life isn't defined by technology, right? Like even though it feels like it right now, and just stepping away from that. Celebrate the small wins, right? Did you get up today? Good for you. Did you shower? That's awesome. Did you eat a breakfast? Yay, so like really recognizing that like just those small acts of self-care that may feel like routine are equally important, right? You did something that was good for you today and good for you. Like celebrate that. Celebrate whatever it is that makes you feel healthy and good and safe. All right. And obviously there's some ideas. Stay hydrated, a huge one. Okay, so here's a mindfulness exercise. So mindfulness can be part of self-care. It kind of lets us take in what's around us, to slow down, to see what's happening, and to really just take it in, right? Rather than be like, it's so easy to lose ourselves in this like huge world and to sometimes just slow down and recognize what's around us in a way that's appreciative and really express some gratitude and center ourselves. So grounding is a really great way to calm ourselves and be more aware of our surroundings. This is a really easy exercise that you can do anywhere, anytime. It's really quick. So we relax. I'll do it with you guys if you want to do it with me. You relax, let go of that tension. Sometimes we feel this tension build up, and once we really like make a conscious effort to let go, we're like, oh, I didn't even know I was holding that tension in. So let that tension out. Take a nice deep breath, and then look around, right? So what are 3 things we see right now? Right now I have a candle next to me, so I see the little flames, and that's really pretty. I really enjoy that. I can see outside my window, and there's a bird on this branch by my tree outside my window. And I also have my pet lizard, Peppa, is over here, and I see her, and I appreciate her. And so now we close our eyes and listen. And then what are 2 things that we hear? Okay, so I can hear obviously the sound of my own voice. I have a fireplace, so I can hear that, right? Take in 2 things. And then lastly, what is one sensation you feel? Okay, so right now I can feel my hair on the back of my neck, right? Some people can, depending on how long it is. And it's kind of soothing. It's kind of nice to feel like your neck is covered in warm. I'm toasty. I feel that warmth, right? So that kind of helps us take in our surroundings, appreciate it. And this can be done anywhere at any time. This is a great mindfulness grounding exercise. Highly recommend if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or just want to breathe for a minute. Great way to engage with yourself and take a little bit of care of yourself really quickly. So finding the right routine for you. If I said some things and you're like, I don't really like journaling, or I don't really like, baking, it's not really my thing, don't like coloring, that's totally okay. You don't have to like those things to take care of yourself, right? So what brings you joy is the first way to think about how to find a routine for self-care. Do you like hanging out with your pets? I love my dog. I spend so much time with him because it's such a great way of self-care, reduces my stress. Do you sometimes just want a nap? Go for it. Writing, making some good food, whatever brings you joy, identify that, right? And then find the time. If you can't find it, make it, right? So we all are really busy, and it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and be like, oh, blah, 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 I have to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. But when we're doing that, we forget to just block out some time for ourselves, right? And we forget to do that. That's what leads to burnout, just those days over and over again without blocking out that time for ourselves and just take care of ourselves and be healthy and safe. So how much time to block out? We all have different self-care needs, right? This is all about what works for you. Could be 10 minutes, could be an hour. Depends on what you want to do. Do you want to journal for 10 minutes? Go for it. Do you want to cook your dinner in a way that's relaxing for you? Go for it. Do you want to just take a nap? 2 hours? Fine, right? What works for you in a way that's realistic and helps you kind of engage with the world in a healthy way while also taking care of yourself. And then set those boundaries to maintain that time, right? It's so easy when we're busy or like someone asks something of us to be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can squeeze that in. I'll just move my self-care, push it back. I'll take my movie night and do it next week or what have you, whatever brings you joy, and you're pushing it back so you can accommodate other people or other needs. But when we need self-care, it's not something we can just push back, right? We have to maintain it, right? Just like you have to water a plant, we have to take care of ourselves, right? We can't just push things back forever. Taking care of ourselves needs to be a routine, not just like a once in a blue moon kind of thing, right? So communicate those boundaries. Say, I would really love to go to that, but unfortunately I have been kind of really overwhelmed this week and I need some time to just relax, unwind, right? So let's talk a little bit more about that, how to set boundaries with others and things that might interfere with our self-care. So FOMO, that's a big one, fear of missing out, right? So if we see somebody like hanging out or like you see a Snapchat story or, someone posts on Instagram that they're hanging out with a bunch of people and they invite you to come, obviously COVID's going to be a little different, but it's good to say, if you want to set that boundary and you're really practicing self-care and this is what you need, you say, I think tonight I really need to spend some time alone, but I would love to come next time. Would next Saturday, would next weekend, what's next Monday night work? Family obligations, right? So maybe something pops up and they need like some help or like they want you to run an errand or make dinner or what have you, just kind of like day-to-day stuff around the house. If appropriate, right? If it's not something that's like an emergency or something where it's like, really pressing and impossible for someone else to do. If appropriate, see if someone else can help out, right? So you could be like, wow, I would love to help out and like make dinner. Like tonight's been really stressful for me. Is it possible that someone else could help do the dishes or someone else could take this and then I'll, and then you could trade, right? Or like if you have a sibling, you could be like, if you do the dishes tonight, I will do the dishes tomorrow. I'm just so overwhelmed, right? Like trading off whatever it is you have to do, finding that time in the midst of all that. Planned events. So if you have something you have to go to or a commitment, work, whatever, schedule self-care around those events, right? So if someone's like, hey, do you want to come out to dinner tonight? And we'll do a whole night, blah, blah, we'll go and it'll be late and we'll do all this stuff. And you're like, I don't really think I want to be out that late. I think I can do dinner, but I can't do all of this. And like, I know this was planned, so I can't cancel, or you can if you want to, obviously, but like you want to go, but you don't want to go as long as like people want or what have you. You could say, I'll go for dinner, but I don't think I'm going to stay for dessert or the movie or, going out to wherever, etc. So you can kind of just like block out the time you want to be there and then communicate those boundaries and be like, I'm really exhausted. I would love to come to dinner, but I don't think I'm going to stay for much longer than that. And that's okay. And then unexpected obligations and emergencies. So obviously these things aren't something that we can just kind of like push off on other people if they're emergencies. So when these come up, make a plan to mitigate the stress, right? It can be traumatizing to have these emergencies pop up. So ask yourself, what are some ways I can practice mindfulness and calm myself down in the moment right? So that could be the grounding techniques we talked about. Or it could be, this is really stressful. What can I do after the fact to get help, right? Or like help myself. So whether that's like see a therapist, or it's, I just need to take some time for myself. I need to take a self-care day. I need to relax for a day and not do anything after this and really process what happened. Or, it was exhausting, coping with that emergency or those obligations, right? So blocking time around that to really cope with it, and kind of recover from that stress and those obligations that were unexpected, right? So it's more around it rather than trying to mitigate, like move it away, right? So it's important to assess what's right for you in these moments, right? There's no one or single response you have to make, but prioritizing your needs and what's healthy for you is the most important thing. That's all that matters. Okay, so now that we've kind of talked about how to set some boundaries, I know that there's a lot more we could talk about, like how to practice self-care and, finding a routine that works for you. So I would highly recommend checking out these resources. They're also evidence-based, right? So Psychology Today has a lot of great resources on self-care. It's a really great place also to look for a therapist too. Like if they can have some resources on that. ActiveMinds.org and Kids Helpline is a really great source for like kids and teens, to look at different self-care tips that are more tailored to the lifestyle of a teenager, right? Like in school. Okay, and then Avalon, what are our services, right? So Avalon is always here for you. That's really important to stress, okay? So we are a confidential resource. Your information will never, ever be shared, right? So you can give us a call. We won't tell your parents. We won't tell your friend. We won't tell anyone, right? It's confidential. And our hotline is 24 hours. It's right there. We have all this. All this will also be in the description. So all these resources will be accessible, like with the links. So if you want to talk, call our hotline, or you can visit us at avalonCenter.org. Again, this will all be in the description. But we're here for you, right? It can be something small, it can be something big, whatever it is, just let us know and we'll do our best to help you and be there for you. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this was helpful. We'll have some more videos coming up about technology and relationships, teen dating violence. February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, right? And prevention. So keep an eye out for those. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great day.